Hell, oh shit. Haha.
WE for G2. Let's talk about it.
Haha. We SKT. Hell, oh shit. Haha.
WE for G2.
Let's
talk about it.
Hello. Welcome to post league time.
Oh,
the pre-show for our show.
We're doing the pre-show for this.
Hello.
All right, what are we
Welcome
doing for
to
the pre-show
league
again?
time.
Show it up.
The pre-show for our show.
Are we introing each other first?
Yeah. Hello. I'll intro you, dude. You don't have to do
Alright,
anything.
what are we
Well,
doing?
guys,
You forgot to turn off the echo again. Show it up.
The pre-show for our show.
Are we introing each other first?
Yeah. Hello. I'm so sorry.
You're stupid.
Okay.
You did this twice.
Sorry. Production issues. I'm not Mark. I'm not Josh. I can't do production. Anyways, welcome, guys. I'm Scarra. For people, some of you might know me. This is my Twitch channel, so I hope a lot of you know me. I'm a streamer, analyst, coach. I've done it all. Currently, I've done most recently I've done analyst work for the LCS desk, as well as host two shows. One of which is PLT. PLT being an analysis League of Legends show. Joining me is Base Yuna. He's my roommate, good friend. He was the substitute player for COG for one of their biggest years. He was there for the MSI run. He made it just about to the same place that you just saw right now.
G2 level of play. Which is not bad.
That's pretty good.
Not bad.
Anyways, this is the pre-show where we welcome you guys joining us before we dig into the deep, hard-hitting analysis of what makes Europe just that good.
All right.
In the meantime, let's talk about the important topics.
Oh, God.
Legit, I don't even know how this became popular, but apparently, like, I remember.
Show it to the camera.
All right, here, hold on.
PogChamp.
So apparently,
so cool.
my roommates bought this, and this is blowing up on YouTube. And I'm not really a YouTuber. I don't really like look around at YouTube stuff, but this is the new hip thing. And being the old guy that I am, I try to get in on the new hip things all the time.
It was designed for like kids with like autism who need like something to like focus on. So
yeah, that's why Yuna has one.
You've seen more productive recently.
Yeah,
a little spinner.
No, that's
good.
Why Yuna. It's all you, dude. But it's a fidget spinner. It's here to
fidget with.
It's for people who like
spinning,
can't control their hands.
Nice shit. Great spinning. Excellent. Really great design. It's like a Beyblade.
You can buy it on Amazon for like $10. Yes, it's $10. It costs quite a bit of money.
Wow, my autism is gone. No, it's still here. You know what's funny? The guy who ran on stage. Everyone saw that, right? The guy who ran on stage. SKT won. Some Randu ran on stage and was like hugging the players. And they're like, yeah, we did it, guys. And Faker and Peanut look so happy hugging him. It's so funny. At first, I thought it was an analyst or something like that. But then I was like, no, this guy does not look like an analyst. This guy looks like a random fan. Oh my god, that was fucking hilarious.
I didn't see it because I was walking upstairs to turn on the stream because I want to turn it on as close to the ending as possible. And you just comes up there, hey, move out the way, dude. Some random fan ran on stage. I was like, what?
I soul linked it. It's so funny. The first hugs are funny because Faker and Peanut, no idea, right? So they're hugging him. They're like, yeah, they probably think it's Coach whatever. They're like, nice draft, dude. You did great. But watching Wolf hug him, he sees him and he's just like, who the fuck is this dude?
Whatever, dude. We just want it. Bring it in, dude. Bring it in.
This seems like this incident, which is hilarious, like gonna get memed on Twitter so hard. I feel like this is something that Riot's gonna get really anal about. Like, how the fuck did this happen, guys?
Well, of course, because even SKT would be like, what if he had a knife? What if he had a gun? What if we could have lost our star player. Faker could have gotten shot.
That's true.
I mean, I'm happy nothing happened, you know? It's just a really funny moment, but I could definitely see where Riot would go in back and be like, okay.
I thought it was
how
their
did he
sub.
Get on there?
It was their sub.
Wait, was it their sub?
Yeah, it was their sub, Brazilian Boy 420.
I thought you were serious for a second, dude.
That was me. That was when COG got second place. That random guy who no one knows, that was me.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, we did it, guys. Aren't we so good? I played great.
Dude, when that happened to MSI, you should have been the guy. You should have ran over to SKT side like, Good work, guys. Dude, I knew we could do it.
I was this close for being that guy, legit. Because when we won against RNG in that game, we were 10K behind, and there's like, it's over. That's when it was like, when we made the comeback, oh my god. You should have saw it, dude. Tony went in, he like yelled his head off, and I've never seen him run faster from the art backstage where we are, and it's like a good distance away into the stage. He fucking like bolted it. He ran on stage, and I was just scared. I literally was sitting there like yelling my head off, and he yelled so much louder. I literally got scared. I was like, oh my god. So you're gonna hit me?
You're telling me if you wanted to send someone to the Olympics from the esports section, you would send that Tony?
Dude, Tony, it's actually hilarious. Tony, like, I don't know if anyone's seen like Tony's personality, but he's like a really like he's not like loud. He's passionate about things, but he's not usually like too loud. But when he's watching COG games, he's like, it's like Bigfoot or like some kind of bear replace Tony, and he just becomes this like if you ever said something bad to Tony while he's watching COG game, he'd probably fuck you up. It's scary.
Actually, the one thing I think would be super cool is to have cams of the coaches, like when big plays are happening, because you should just it's so good. And I kind of want Riot to do it in the way that they do like comms inside the game. They don't reveal strategies, or they make sure to clip it so it doesn't reveal strategies, but it'll just be like the excitement. Because dude, one of the best moments, just thinking about like everything happened, like one of the best moments of G2 winning, you see like Ocelot in the backstage with his coaching staff. They were like, yeah, like right after they got on stage, like Mythica came out, he's like, we're so good, you know. That's like such a key moment to
sure,
like,
like that
snapshot.
yeah, that's true.
And then dude, even in the last Team Liquid documentary where Loco like just smashes the keyboard,
that is like a
that's the iconic moment. You're just like, he went fucking mental. It's just boom, you see the keys from the keyboard like just fly up in the air a little bit and just drop back down.
That clip is just legendary.
And
Acadians in the background, like, oh my god.
Yeah, and this happens to every team. Like, I promise you, if you ever every team just gets so hyped up, and I wish that people could see it more, because like that's what connects people with like the coaches, and like it makes it feel more real when you see people like their lives are fully invested into this.
That's true too. I feel like people give shit to like people or like coaches too. They're like, do you care? And it's like, yes, every coach cares a lot. People get pissed when they lose. But yeah, that was hilarious. That was literally like, I was 1 second from being that guy. I was like, but it was literally Tony who just like, not only scared me, but just ran so fast. I was like, you know what?
You got it.
I'm good. I'm good. Good MSI though. It was like, I thought it was gonna be boring, but I didn't even watch like all the pre-games. But seeing the last two games are like, I mean, I liked it.
I thought the grouping stages were kind of like boring, but what came out of them, which was Gigabyte Marines.
Galactic Marines.
Gigabyte Marines, who was like a great team to come out of the event, but for me, like the actual interest of the event didn't start till the final 6 teams. And I think that's okay.
Oh yeah, the playing stages were.
Yeah, it's just because I'm not personally invested,
boring.
and some people are, and I can understand why Riot has that. It's there to bring more interest into those groups. I don't think it's wrong at all. For me personally, interested in Superstars of that section, and I think it was honestly a good MSI. You know, I think that G2 ended up pushing SKT farther than I expected. We actually got like good grand finals, where usually SKT grand finals are just like, all right, first game, dude, SKT's just sandbagging. They still win when they sandbag, but it just takes a little bit longer. And next 2 games, just watch the Flash Wolf series. It's just like, oh, well, I guess SKT won. And then the second 2 games are just like,
smash.
Yeah, Jesus,
really
dude,
disgusting.
You're not allowed to put this on TV, man. Come on, this is rated R. It's really bad, but that's not what happened at all today. We'll get onto that a little bit later.
I don't think I have anything else to say about the pre-show. There's no important topic, so you want to
get into it? Let's just head straight into the show. So, welcome guys to the actual show, post-league time. It's our... I always keep wanting to say LCS analysis show. I've said this for 6 months.
It is.
It's not, but it's an LCS analysis show, but not to say it's a competitive League of Legends analysis show because we're covering MSI. And so, competitive League of Legends analysis show featuring myself, Scarra, my friend here, Base Una, and we're here to talk about the series today. G2 versus SKT. A series that I thought might be relatively one-sided.
I think everyone came into this being like, okay, let's get this 3-0 over with. I kind of want to go to sleep. But it didn't turn out like that. Are we going to jump into like an overview of the whole series? You can say the first words.
Oh, yeah, okay. So this is a series that ended up being 3-1 for SKT. It, like, probably one of the closest sets possible. Generally, what ended up happening was that SKT was able to fend off G2, and G2 wasn't able to cleanly close out most games. Like, most of the times what ends up happening is G2 has a win condition that strays away from their mid lane, stalls out the game a little bit when they end up getting a lead, and they're not able to consistently find angles, and SKT finds all the initiation plays and all the plays to be able to take over the game. There was one game that G2 was able to just like clean out, but for the most part, SKT just had the better of them in terms of being able to find decisive, proactive plays.
Yeah, I agree. That's pretty much what sums up the series itself. I think G2 just never could find the looks. Like, they had the tools to do it, but it ended up being like not executed, maybe not like confident in their plays, and just felt like no one was really like pulling those shots that they would from last series. Looked like they were a lot more like ready to do it, that like they would take those arrows or take those flash thresh engages, but didn't really feel like that this game, and it ultimately led to like their loss. And I think SKT was the other team, well, obviously the other team that wasn't afraid to ever like pull those shots. They're the ones constantly making plays, and they came out on top.
All right, let's just straight right into the first game. SKT versus G2, game where
I didn't get the draft.
Oh, I have the draft. It's literally our internet cut off for a little bit, our Wi-Fi, so like we couldn't watch the opening part of the game. I went back and rewatched the entire draft. Essentially, it ended up being that one team picked up Karma. Honestly, there wasn't anything really crazy about the draft. I think one of the things you should point out when you're talking about this game, and one of these prime drafting things metas that occurred during this tournament that G2 kind of like ended up starting to some extent, is the fact that when you're on red side, you end up banning Lulu Karma. And what happens is that I think that fits really, really well into G2's like kind of bot lane priority in the draft. Almost always you're getting counter picks on bot lane, and I think champions like Braum and Kench fit Mithy really, really well. I think he's actually playing super well in those champions, and even like the idea of counter picking MF in one of those games was super good. I think that going into the game, like G2 had a definite draft strategy of doing that, being able to control like bot lane while being able to counter pick the solos, which is I guess is a pretty standard strategy here going into the game. You'll see a lot of Olaf priority as well throughout the day, and this is. I don't think it was this game, but starting from next game. Was it this game?
Olaf priority?
Olaf was shown in the last two games. So starting from the last two games, you'll see a decent amount of Olaf between the two teams. But anyway, talking about this game where Faker starts 0-4. What else is there to say?
Definitely, yeah.
So a lot of people are going to ask, was this G2 playing well or Faker playing poorly? It's kind of a combination of both. Usually that's what ends up happening. Like, no one just starts 0-4 because they like didn't misplay. It was like, okay, first gank, Faker didn't expect Ivern with mobility boots to come in with a shield. Perkz was able to get aggressive, and generally throughout the entire tournament, Perkz just had the better of Faker in lane. I think Perkz laning phase wise, it reminds me very, very much like Jensen. Like he's a player who typically doesn't tend to push himself out of the mid lane unless he's distinctively split pushing on something like a Jace or Echo or something like that. But in his like lane kingdom, as they call it, he is king. He is God. So during lane, Perkz is just a monster. Like, I don't know how else I can say this. This guy is legit beating Faker in every single game or in every single matchup he plays. At least early game. Faker usually has more impact when going into mid game, mainly because his team tends to play around him really, really well. But for like the first 8 minutes,
just laning, if you're just talking laning, yeah, you're right. Perkz, I think 100% Perkz played better than Faker.
Yeah, just laning wise, it's actually insane. And so this is just a good example of a game where I think Perkz got a small lead, and with Ivern camping him, he just starts like just so far negative this game. Definite like misplays over aggression from Faker, and really, really good by Trick to be able to find a way to be able to make this game into a. They have a distinctive advantage. The problem was the transition, and this is kind of G2's problem the entire series. They don't really know what to do with their lead. And so there's two things they can do with their lead. You talked about them to me before. Why don't you go over the 2 points?
Well, the way I looked at it this game was I saw like two very like big outliers in the comp, which is the Jace and the Rumble. I thought they could easily set up like a 1-3-1 comp with the Jace top lane matching the he lane against Ari.
Yes. Oh, he has Cassio.
He laned against Cassio. So obviously Cassio's super behind. He's 0-4, like down 50 CS. I would think Jace can just run over this Cassio. And then they have the Kench. What is it? Kench Kate, Jace, Kench Kate, Ivern mid with the 3, and then the Rumble bot. And both solo lanes had a lead. Like they both seemed that they could easily split their opponent, but it ended up not happening. Where like Jace, I think he killed top tier 1, but it was like so late into the game where things are happening too slow. No one really felt like they were splitting, and they were getting the 3 never felt like they had pressure in the mid lane either, which was shocking to me too because they have the Kench versus Ashe, and obviously the easiest thing to think of Kench is when someone gets arrowed, you just swallow them and you run backwards, right? But it felt like Ashe was the more proactive player in this game, which is like shouldn't happen in that scenario. And the splitter should be winning and pressuring, but it didn't happen either.
So the way I see it is that, again, you can go either of the two routes. So what happened with GT this game? They tried to do 1-3-1 this game. What ended up happening that went really bad? The 1-3-1 is really good for GT, not only because of side lane splitters, but also it like works with Kench's best trait, which is the ability global to side lanes with someone else. So essentially, you have 2 TFs in mid lane, or 2 people with teleports in mid lane. They can go to any side lane really quickly, and you have 2 splitters that can win the lane. So how did G2 mess this up? Well, it kind of accelerated too quickly for them. And then they slowed down too much. So the acceleration that was too quickly was expect when top lane before they set up the 1-3-1 correctly. And he ran into their bot lane, who was top lane, blue flash, and then he got dove by Peanut to die. That should never happen. Like there should be no situation where he just dies like that unless without G2 being able to respond. And so Jason wasn't even able to put a lot of pressure bot lane because that happened. After that situation, Kench ended up backing, and the one situation where Kench can't save the middle 3 from the Ashe arrow, Ashe fires an arrow, gets a pick on mid lane, and then they find a way to break open mid. And those are like very, very small situations, but SKT were able to capitalize super well on this. I saw a lot of comments on analysts from other analysts saying that like G2 could have just grouped and won this game. I also agree that was a good option for them as well. I don't fault them for the 1-3-1 though, because I think it's a viable option if they have more practice on it. If they think they're better at it, something that they should definitely do. However, grouping up was also really good. I think Cleaver Yomu's was a spike for Jace. What does the enemy team do against Poke? So usually against Poke, you could shield Poke, you could heal Poke. They don't have either of those. They have a Zyra. Galio was Ninja Tabby into Spear Visage into Sheen. So he had no he had no defensive stats to be able to soak it. Mid lane can't soak it. He has a cloth armor, and there's no way the AD or jungler are soaking it. So they definitely could have done a group up on like a blue buff timing for Jace and just tried to pummel down mid with Kench being able to disengage the Ashe initiation. However, I don't really fault them. I just for looking for the split because I think it was an okay decision. They just didn't execute it properly. SKT were just a better team here.
Yeah, I think especially Bang played really well. Like he very capitalized on the arrows. Like he's making the plays. He's always looking for the engages, and just like I think there's something that was like, it's like shows like such a trait of a great AD carry player is that fight during mid lane where they're catching them and he flashes over with the Cassiopeia in front of 2 people. Like that flashing in front of 2 people as an AD carry is probably one of the scariest things you can do. But it was like the great look where he's like safe enough, but there to slow them both down and gets another 2 kills in that mid tower. And it's just like, yeah, Bang's Bang.
Yeah, I think Bang maybe had one bad game, and it wasn't really a bad game. I think it was his Ashe game where they ended up losing against G2, where he gets picked bot lane turret because he ended up too far ahead, and his itemization option going Hexdrinker Moss second was a little bit questionable. Generally though, Bang is the rock of SKT. This guy is like the best backline carry you can possibly get in AD carry. It's just incredibly strong.
Yeah, they really faltered after that though because it feels like their comp can't really deal with the engage from SKT. Like after they just like slow down, Jace becomes pretty useless. Like Ashe just has that healing and off the blade, and Cassiopeia has the natural healing off her passive too. So Jace like just becomes like a worthless pick.
Yeah, like the poke isn't effective once Galio gets armor. It can face tank.
That as well.
But it's like it never should have gotten to that point. They should have gotten a big enough lead.
With a huge lead, like, at 20 minutes, I wrote down to 20 minutes. Jace had 2 items, so did Kate. So they're both hitting their 2-item spike at the same time while Galio's sitting on 0 armor items.
It's literally
Ash can't heal it. Cass can't heal either.
Sheen. I was like, okay.
It's just like it's so hard to see them get like such a like where they should win the game and just like not be able to push it. But at the end of the day, it's like the more decisive team won, and that was SKT, and that was pretty much game 1.
Yeah. Like usually we break down more specific points, but I think this is just a general how the game went, and that's pretty much game 1.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to say?
No.
All right, cool. We're gonna go straight into game 2. This is the game that G2 actually won, and so this is a 1-1 for G2. I actually had a lot of weird things to say about this game. And by weird things, I mean I just think that this is a really, really scary game for G2. Even though they got in an enormous lead. Like, this is like the game where you're watching and you're, as a G2 fan, you're like, yes, 5-0. Like, I think this is a game where every solo lane wins, and like the jungle's popping off, and you're just like, we can't get any better. Like, how is this even gonna get better for us? They can DC, but like realistically, we're gonna win this game. This is so good. But before I get into like the nitty gritty of this game, going to the draft, the one thing I think was really interesting is the fact that usually when you're running an Ivern comp, it's all shields. So when you just naturally think, okay, Ivern, okay, shields.
Ivern Karma, Ivern.
Yeah, Ivern Karma.
Ivern one more.
Ivern Ori. Like literally, you just stack shields on Ivern, you win the game. However, the way SKT ran this comp was they last picked Ari, one really, really hard pick to play into Braum. If you ever ask like Shifter about this matchup, and he plays a lot of Ari, Braum is one of the supports that's like one of the most annoying stuff to play against. You could do it, but generally just like a hard support to play into. On top of that, it's the entire comp is based around like diving with Galio Ari with an Ivern shield. So it's like the exact opposite kind of how you play Ivern. Like Ivern then has a creative use of using an aggressive shield to be able to stack onto the Ari as she goes in. Not your typical Ivern comp at all. And something I thought that was really interesting that ended up happening because it played really well into G2's like support situation where, you know, like Lulu and Karma are out, and then Mithy's able to bring out this Braum to be able to draft very well into the opposing team lineup.
Yeah, I think it was definitely weird, but it worked. Like it works for SKT, but I think the more interesting pick to me was the GP. I didn't like it at first, actually. I thought GP just felt random to me, but when you look at it, it's like, I feel like, especially with GP, it's a champion you really want to punish. Like, it's probably one of the easiest champions to dive in the game. Like, you literally just, it doesn't matter if he's full HP, you get your tank top, you get your Lee Sin, and you just kick him in his face, under tower, he dies. But this game, it felt like, against the Galio and the Ivern, like, he never really had that threat to die. Like, there was no threat on the GP because he'll just cleanse the Ivern Q, and he'll avoid all of Galio's pressure. And I think it worked out pretty well this game. Like, Expect played, like fantastic, actually. Ooh, too many likes, might be.
So, generally, the early game starts, okay, so Faker level 1 blows his flash for exhaust. Pretty good by GT to get that. Again, Trick level 2 ganks mid lane, puts more pressure on mid lane. Then Syndra ends up getting a solo kill with the level lead, CS lead. Like we said, Perkz plays lane just phenomenally. This guy's a monster laner. Then what happens is a 2v2 top lane skirmish at 4 minutes. And what ends up happening, G2 just outplays it and gets a kill on flash. Ooh. Super good for them. And at this
close
point,
fight, very
close. A little bit of target selection differently could have worked in either direction, but G2 just ended up on top. At the same time, bot lane, Cog Braum gets a 2v2, like essentially a 2v2 kill where they trade 2 for 1. And so the best possible outcome happened where your mid, your jungle, your top, your bot lane all got ahead.
5-0. It's almost like a game over scenario where every lane is ahead, and these champions, I feel aren't like GP is definitely a champion that you don't feel gets ahead in the early game. Even their bot lane, it's still like it's Ashe Kench versus the Braum Cog. Kog'Maw's never a champion you see Expect with such an early lead. Yes.
So what happens this game, and what happens is kind of why I consider Perkz to be similar to Jensen is that Perkz doesn't really leave lane, and the way that happens is like people play around Perkz. People come into Perkz' kingdom and like help him out or like try to invade and like kill him because he's the king. But
that's funny. That's a good.
But what ends up happening is like a lot of times like he should leave. Like he should go conquer other lands, and he never really does that. So how does SKT come back in this game? Sure, mid lane has a 40 CS lead, 1 or 2-0 lead on mid lane, But what's the difference between getting 10 more CS lead on Ahri and roaming? Like
Or smashing bot tower.
Yeah, or smashing bot. And so this is a game where the only way G2 loses is if they get global mid lane. They have Galio, which is essentially a defensive global for Ahri, defensive/offensive global for Ahri. They have Kench, which is a global for mid lane as well. And the only thing they can do is global one lane, which is the mid lane. Because if they leave for any larger period of time, like Galio is limited in his distance to be able to ulti, it's about half the map. Or like maybe a fifth of the map. So ulting top to mid is possible, but top to bot, impossible.
Top to mid is easy. Like, you walk towards, like, Tribush, I think?
Yeah.
Tribush a little bit more towards red.
Mid. And then Kench, you walk down mid lane and then a little bit and just ult. And if that doesn't work, they just run back bot. Not a big deal. No resources really lost in either of those trades. And the thing is, G2 just keeps absorbing these ganks. Some of them don't work, and a lot of them do work. And unfortunately, PerkZ has been hard pressure in this situation where... And you'll see this throughout the series, both this game and the last game, where I think personally he should have just roamed to work with a lead with his jungler. This is a game where very easily, PerkZ walks in with his jungler trick to the bot side, or to the top side. I guess you could do top either. It really doesn't matter, but I think top is a little bit more dangerous. They have the GP ulti, so they should just go bot lane with GP ulti. So it's essentially a 4v5, but they have GP ulti on top to just dive bot lane. And there's nothing the opposing player can do because your Syndra is like 2-0 with 50 CS lead. Ahri's not going to be able to do anything, and Galio's not going to get there in time. Unfortunately, that never really happens, and this is kind of the bane of G2, is that they tend to extend laning phase way too long. Like, legitimately, you'll see other teams rotate, and one of the things that G2 does to blow up in laning phase, actually, is one of their best traits is that their bot lane just randomly runs mid when they're about to lose a tower and breaks the mid turret.
That's such a good rotation.
Yeah,
I love seeing that rotation.
Actually, their bot lane is incredibly good at doing that. I think they've done that 3 times in the last 2 best of 3s. It's actually super funny to watch. But aside from that specific rotation, they're not really good at accelerating the pace of the game. Like, unless Trix somehow just blows up in the game, which really doesn't happen without the mid laner, they don't really accelerate. That's why they're considered like a late game team, mainly because they don't make early game plays. Against this team with the lead they needed to make the early game play against SKT a lot faster, and SKT kind of almost equalized the game, right? Eventually, Ahri just gets so much help from his team, like so much help. Like you can't.
There's three Galio ultis mids and 2 Kench ultis mid. He's getting so much help.
Eventually, okay, Ahri solo kills PerkZ. And yeah, that's his bad, but he's got like literally 6 people in his lane.
After 3 ultis,
people nonstop, and then they also make the play bot lane. And so this is a situation where it's just like, oh well,
it was looking scary for sure. SKT was definitely catching up. They were just the more proactive team during the mid game. They used his Kench really well. They're always trying to make plays. Galio is always helping mid lane out. As soon as mid gets pressured, it seems like Huni's always there to help out Faker. It happened in all the games actually. It just felt as soon as PerkZ was beating Faker, Huni came down. He has his Rumble or he has his Galio and he's helping out mid. And it almost made him lose the game this time because with all these, it was for like 10 minutes where it's just them making plays, them making plays, them making plays. Like some of them don't work out, but they're getting kills, and it's getting really scary because I think this game they're definitely on a clock for G2's on a clock to, or rather SKT's on the clock to win the game because with GP and Kog'Maw the scaling is like ridiculous. So they almost had the game, but you see at the end it was just like the combination of the early game being so strong for G2, the 5-0 obviously, one team fight lost in the late game leading into the Baron, the game was over. It was really scary to see the Braum front line after a while. The pick synergized so well with the Kog'Maw. He's just standing in front of them and Kog'Maw's DPSing the whole time, and yeah.
The game-winning team fight was at red buff, enemy red buff. Essentially, the other team G2 just runs into the SKT's red, force a team fight, get a great team fight. Expect just plays super well. The whole team plays well. You have 4-for-1 in Baron. That kind of cements the game for G2. They're able to then snowball their lead through bot. They get the pick on Ashe, and then the game is just over. But up until that point, it's still very, very scary. Like they were falling like under 5k gold lead or under like 3k gold lead, something where it's an easy difference for SKT to overcome. They're just that good of a team. So this is a game where even though G2 won, you're able to see stuff where it's like, okay, well, they could play more proactively with their lead. I understand why they didn't because they had such a good late game comp, right? They hit level 13. They have GP at level 13 with 2 items, or 1.5 items, 2 items. They have Cogmod, and then they can just run with that with a Braum front line. But it's just stuff that you're going to see that you're going to come back to throughout the series, and you're like, okay, this is what G2 needs to work on as they move forward to Worlds.
Yeah, we still have a whole summer split.
Yeah, we have a lot of time. So I'm just going to jump into Game 3. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's pretty much that game.
Game 3, and this is where Olaf starts coming into priority. G2 picks the Olaf here. And this is really, really interesting. Like, I look at this draft, how it starts at the very beginning, and you're like, okay, it's Ashe Olaf and MF in the first 3 rotations, and they ban Karma Lulu. They bait the Zyra pick on the left side, and G2 comes out with the winning bot lane, and a jungler that matches pretty well into Lee Sin. So the first 3 picks, I'm just like, ooh.
Great draft.
Good job, G2.
Fantastic draft.
Like, you did a good job. And then what ended up happening was the second rotation, I just got a little bit pissed, because I completely understand what G2 was trying to do. They first pick Orianna instead of picking their top laner, because they want to be set up in the position where, since they have an Olaf, they have someone that's frontline, they want to be able to pick the game plank again, if given to them. SKT understands that, so they don't pick a single tank. They pick the only strong DPS top laner left available, which is Rumble. They make Rumble, and then they counterpick the Orianna with Ahri. Something that Faker's going to play anyways. He played the game before. And so what ended up happening was their top lane got counterpicked, in their mid lane, they just got a neutral pick. And if you're getting a neutral pick as a last pick, I think you messed up the draft. This was a situation where the early pick Ori was so that they could take advantage if SKT drafted poorly. And I don't know if that risk was worth doing.
I think it was worth it. Seeing the GP from last game, like just that game in itself, it seemed the GP... I think he 1v5 that game. Like, his ults were on point. He's picking up if I see a gangplank with the Trinity Force...
Cole?
Not 5 deaths. There's a problem. There's a fucking problem.
Cole Trinity, it's like 14 minutes. You're like, oh, this guy's going to go off.
So, I mean, I disagree in that point where, I don't know. This risk, I think, was worth it for them, even though it didn't end up working out. I'd rather them take that GP.
What did this open them up? They ended up with a great bot set. So what could have happened if the alternative happened? Was they early picked Galio? Was the other team picked? The other team, you think the other team's going to pick GP? All the Galio counter picks are gone. Kennen and Fizz are both gone. They'd probably pick Gragas or Rumble. They'd probably just pick Rumble. And so what ended up happening was then SKT has to pick and get counterpicked in the mid lane. Now, what option was left? Maybe they take Ori and then Perks has to play Ahri. But still, I think that sets them up in like a pretty decent position to be able to make the play. Because then they have Galio Ahri. But instead of this situation, I just felt like they tried for the game plan and it failed in the draft. Not crucially important, but something that you should look at when you're looking at the draft for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. At the end of the day, I still think G2, both teams, no team really came out with like such a overwhelming comp, but I still like G2's more due to the Olaf, like you said, it was just such a big pick this game, and the Ori Galio with Olaf just seems like a very good comp.
I think the Ashe MF was actually super good, and you automatically know bot lane's going to be winning with pressure for sure. So the game starts out, and Perks is winning mid lane, like you'd expect. Perks is just smashing mid lane. Smashing so hard, it's like 2 pots, 0 pots at 2, Faker's at 20% health, and he's probably begging for help. Peanut has to come in.
Rumble comes in first.
Yeah, Rumble comes
shows top, ganks mid.
And then, nothing even happens there. He just shoved them Perks out. Just like runs over to the right, goes back mid lane. Then Peanut comes in from the side and pressures him off just that Faker can reset to be down 10 CS. Like, Perks is legit just like dumbstering mid so hard before first back. And to be fair, before first back, this is an Ori favorite matchup. I think Ahri tends to get better. At Morello timing, when she can one-shot backline, that's when Ahri's really good. And even from like Lost Chapter 4, she's really good then. But I'm not seeing someone be able to really pressure Ahri to the extent that Perks plays this matchup. But yeah,
I thought he was gonna get another solo kill. It looked really bad.
Yeah, it looked super bad. But this is an example of just like, Perks just lanes and like he absorbs the pressure. Everyone comes mid to either help him or hurt him. But SKT is just such a good team at being able to enable Faker to be able to go off, because they trust that once Faker gets a small lead, he just runs with it. And the guy's just good at being able to do that. Like, he's so good. Generally, what ends up happening is top lane Huni baits a gank and was able to kill Expect.
That was a bad one. I don't think he should have died to that one. I think he knew too. He was definitely spacing wrong and got super baited.
Yeah.
It sucks to see that happen too. It feels like, I don't know. Oh, no, it was just a bad
And one of the best things to see is like Cuny's kind of development as a player. He's no longer the player who just like slams his head top lane. Like he's like the kind of guy who you're just like, if ᵐᵉᵐᵉ was like really good at the game, he's what you'd expect. He's the super aggressive player which he just slams the other top laner, and he takes the jungle pressure, and usually he tries to outplay. He's pretty successful at it most of the times. Now through like the SKT coaching, his development as a player over the years, he is really, really good at getting stuff out of lane. He goes to ward. If you look to see a lot of his plays, his deep wards, his warding, especially at Golem Camp, allows him to see the pathing of the enemy jungle. Helps out his team so much. He's really good at doing that, and he's good at being able to roam mid and pressure mid consistently. Like that's something that he's definitely developed to like a T at his time at SKT. This is a great example. He gets a lead top lane, he roams down mid lane, sets up Faker for a kill, and that's just like, wow, what a phenomenal play. Super good player.
Sucks to see too again because Perks is like winning lane,
Yeah,
but
the
rumble pressure is just he literally comes mid and ulties, and you can't do anything. It's so sad to see because I feel like Perks played really well, like we were talking about, but this game for me really felt like where's the Olaf in all this?
Well, the thing is, like, I agree with you. So when you look at the team comp, what was the first thing you said Olaf should do?
Just run at bot lane. That's all I thought was going to happen. With the Astro, I want Olaf to just run at bot lane.
For me, I said Olaf had great opportunities for side lane. So I also consider top lane being... Because, dude, it's Rumble. Like, you think Gameplank's easy to dive? See what happens when you dive a Rumble.
That's true,
dude.
too.
Rumble pre-6 is like a walking 300 gold. And he can't even mobility move out. He has, like, a scrap shield, and he turns around to, like, try to throw an E at you. This guy is literally a walking, like, money bag. But... Olaf wasn't able to get anything going. In fact, the only play Olaf did end up making was he aggressively tried to counter juggle Raptor Camp when Perks had the back.
Oh, that was a bad one.
Perks was backing because he just got, I think he just got chunked.
He got chunked through, I believe Ahri just ulted him mid with Galio. Something like that.
Yeah, he got chunked. Didn't
10%, 20%.
Didn't die. Cool. Olaf then just tries to invade the Raptor Camp. Wow, he finds Lee Sin there. And this is the story. This game is actually...
Oh, this is the Wolf game.
Yeah, this is the Wolf game. Wolf...
Wolf is hiding at the red bush, and when Trick and Mithy try to run out of the camp, Wolf is there, gets a double snare into double, and it's a free 2 kills. Mid tower.
Yeah, this is actually like Wolf is a monster. Wolf like carried this game. He got MVP for the series. I don't even care. Yeah, I don't even care, dude. This is the series where you're just like, okay, Wolf won. Oh
yeah, this is definitely the game where Wolf, he's making those sick engagements. Obviously, in the game, he gets that disgusting flash over the Wraith Bush into the 3-man.
It ends the game just so good.
Oh, yeah, the game's
before
over.
we get to that, so this is the only Olaf practice play we see. So, and that's terrible. Like,
yeah, that's literally the one play.
So, what usually happens in this bot lane matchup where it's Ashe, MF versus Caitlyn? It's Caitlyn, Zyra.
Yeah.
You just get first Ashe arrow below sums, second Ashe arrow gets kills. That's usually how it always is with Ashe pressure comps. The Olaf should have been down there at some point to be able to do it. Or the Olaf should have been top lane. Because...
Side lanes, please gank a side lane. That's what I wanted this game. Please gank a side lane. It's so weird, too. Coming from Trick, who was... He literally lived in the lane bushes. Last series, like, we saw from last series, he is not afraid to sit in that lane brush, and if someone walks up, he's going to go at them. But I didn't feel like he bringed this out this series, which is... Especially this game where I felt like he's going to get these kills in the side lane. He has great setup. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, and it's not even like his bot lane's losing. His bot lane's
his bot lane is ahead.
It's up like 10-15 CS. They're pressuring, and they get first tower by themselves. And so the entire time that this is happening, we're just like, whoa, they even forced Zyra flash by themselves.
Oh yeah, at one point they got Zyra's flash too.
So the entire time I'm sitting there being like, where's Trick during this entire situation?
That seems like the story of G2 side from this game. I hate saying that too because I don't really like pinning blame too much on one player, but I don't know where he is. Like this game, I just don't know where he is.
This is another game where I thought to myself that look, Ori's winning mid quite hard, and I understand you kind of want to sit there and be able to pressure the other mid lane player. Like if you're Shane on mid, that's good. But it's a situation where if Olaf's afraid to go into the other jungle by himself, Ori should go in with him to be able to help him out, or Ori should be able to roam side lanes. It's not like Ori can't wave clear and run to another lane. That's of course going to be able to happen. Their top lane can even cover mid lane in situations where that happens because It's not like Rumble's going to be like a really fast pusher. It could be a situation where they can easily rotate off the middle lane to be able to do stuff, but that will never happen. I'm not seeing G2 do that ever. And so I think this plays toward G2's style play where they want to do this. And their mid lane is good enough to be able to do this type of play. However, sometimes it feels like strategy-wise, it's lacking a lot.
This game, too, felt like even if he couldn't go into the sides, they have a really good 3-man with the Olaf, Galio, and Ori, but it never felt Olaf was confident enough to get in there.
Yeah,
I think I see it once where Galio actually ultis on top of Olaf, and the game already felt it was too late.
It was like PTSD. After he invaded the Raptor camp and that messed up, he just never went back in again. And his team needed him to be able to create space so that they can actually lane. Like, if they're just going to go lane, they need to eliminate variables to where, like, laning phase can get disrupted. And that's Trick's job. And Trick didn't really do that this game.
Yeah, and then
the Wolf thing
after
happened.
that, the Wolf thing happened where I think that's when they start realizing, hey, we have this Olaf who can be unkillable with Galio Ori, but before that even happens, before Ash can get an arrow off or Olaf engages, Wolf gets that 3-man over the Wraith's push into the 2 carries, and it's game over.
It was a situation where G2 was getting to a point where they were grouping up and looking to make plays.
Yeah.
But right at that situation happened, Wolf makes the Miracle Raptor Flash. His snare hits 3 people.
Hits both carries. And
then,
Olaf.
And then his knockup hits 3 people as well. And he gets they tunnel vision on Wolf kill. But
Spenders overextended dies.
Yeah, everyone dies. It's a 4-for-1, and Wolf's just like...
They get mid tower, tier 1, and Baron, and obviously it's game over.
Yep. I think especially SKT is one of the hardest punishing teams when they get Baron. If they get Baron, it's game over.
Oh, yeah.
You do not give this team Baron with a gold lead because you will not live the next 5 minutes. They're just in the game.
That's the story of this series, and it's really expressed this game too, where they have that win condition, and they just honestly, to me, it just feels like they need to run bot lane. Someone run into bot lane, and they just are too afraid to pull the trigger. And
for me, it's like I understand maybe bot lane is a little bit difficult, especially pre-6. Ash MF doesn't really have good setup. So I can understand not doing that, but you have options like pre-6. Oh, top lane.
Top lane, Galio can I think if he duels the Rumble, he can outshove the Rumble.
Oh, and even if he can't, if he gets shoved in, that's an even better position, man. Like, you just smack him with Olaf, and the game's over. But that problem became really apparent this game as well. So the next game we're going to talk about, the final game, SKT cleans up this game, or the series 3-1. This is a game where, starting from the draft...
It seems like the same kind of scenario from the draft, honestly.
Yeah, G2 get the Twitch pick for the other team. They know SKT's going to pick Twitch. They've had high priority on all the game. They leave it up, and they take Kalista Thresh into it. Their bot lane probably really confident this is going to happen. This has got to be... This is the game for them. Sven, Mithy are going to just 2v5 this game, assuming all stuff goes equal.
I think when you lock in Kalista, you're trying to big dick the enemy bot lane.
And when you pick Thresh, you're trying to jungle camp the enemy bot lane too.
Yes, that too.
And so once the combination of the two are happening, you know the bot lane is going to be like the scrappiest thing in the game. And the scraps happen, but the other jungler was there. And
other jungler is the one who's making the scraps happen.
And not Trick. Because if Trick was there and turned one of the ganks, this game could have been a bloodbath. But it ended up being like they ended laning phase where like the Kalista Thresh was even. Because it was like... Because the opposing laner just got so much help from the jungler.
Especially this game, how we were talking about from last game, where it's a very like bot lane focus, where we think the jungler should go. We were talking about how last game, like, it's not very possible for the pre-6. They don't really... MF is not going to bring any utility to help out with the gank. But we have a Thresh this game against a Kench, a melee support. It's very hard to not want him to come into that lane so early. Like, Flash, Lantern, easiest thing in the game. But they just don't do it. I didn't see it happen. Yeah. Where is it?
So, before we get too far into these, the game starts, and as expected, Perkz is winning mid lane. Like, literally, I don't even know what to say. Perkz just lanes like a monster. He's
throughout this whole game. We said this before, but Perkz played laning phase so good this game. The entire
tournament, if you're a guy who only sees the first 10 minutes of every game, Perkz would be the best player in the world.
That's why I feel so bad for Perkz, especially because his laning is so fantastic this series. It's so hard to see him just get fucking smashed by the jungle and top laner.
Yeah, and like in one game, like the support Kench just like ultimate as well. So like,
oh yeah, that too. It's
Perkz
so hard
draws everyone to his kingdom, like definitely. And even I will say this though, Ori versus LeBlanc is a favorable Ori matchup in lane. Like this is not something where it's like LeBlanc should win. So I give Perkz less credit for this game than his other games, but still he played really, really well. And the problem was like G2 just ended up not being able to do anything. Like they got stuck in a situation where unable to make many proactive plays, and eventually.
I think this is their least proactive.
Yeah,
game.
this is the game that was probably the most boring to watch. Like,
it was definitely the most boring to watch.
Because you're just
unless you're an SKT fan, because
SKT
the Kench walked around the map. The Kench literally ganked top, mid, and bot lane, and it's so hard to deal with it too without Lee Sin there because it's an Olaf in a Kench. You can't CC him. He's just gonna ult and run at you, and they punish bots so severely, and they're killing top lane too.
Yeah, I also think Kalista is not a champion that functions behind. Similar to some ADs, when Kalista falls behind,
it feels bad.
Kalista does not exist. Like,
especially against slows. Something like Olaf Kench, when you get tagged by a Kench Q or an Olaf Q, and you have only Borg to their ninja tabbies, you are gonna feel it. You're gonna slowly jump away, and you're gonna do 0 damage.
Yeah, this is a champion where you pick it, you have to snowball. If you're not even or ahead out of lane, your champion pick is not effective. And once they fell kind of a little bit behind / even out of lane, this is a game where as easily SKTs win. Especially because G2 didn't play around their like main win condition, which was snowball the hell out of bot
lane. That really felt like the game to me. Like that's describing the game. It just didn't feel like they wanted a comp that needs to win early. Kalista is definitely not a late game champ, and Lee Sin is not that much of a late game champ either. They just didn't do the early game leads.
All my notes are literally just like, okay, well, they had a really big skirmish. Like it's all SKT side. They had a skirmish. Peanut then kills mid at the 16-minute mark. At the 18-minute mark, Huni roams down, kills mid, and it's like, oh, that's great.
Those are my notes. Yeah. Literally, the glares out me is Perkz is winning, but he's dead after a gank, and then he's dead again after a gank.
And then
he's dead.
And then once Faker gets Gunblade, he starts pushing bot lane, and then the game just turns ugly. Like they do like the top lane skirmish, where they desperately try to find the play top lane with Kench, Kalista, or Thresh Kalista, and it was like they lost a 3v5 after killing someone.
Oh yeah, watching that was so bad. It was literally. I remember when it was they traded. They did that thing again where they went mid when their bot tower was about to die, got it for free and the first blood, so they stole it again. But they just leave Faker down there, and he chunks the tier 2 bot tower to 80% or 20% left. So, rough game.
Yep, this is a situation where you kind of didn't expect G2 to be able to come back.
There was one instance where I thought G2 might have had the game. That 5v5 bot that was very, very close. Twitch died. They burned his flash prior to it.
Oh,
I thought that might be the turning point where if G2 is somehow gonna mechanically outplay, it's here. But it ended up just being everyone got away with 1 HP and no flash.
Yep. Unfortunately, after that play, though, nothing really happened for G2, and the game and the series itself was just over. This is like the game I have the least to talk about. This seemed that SKT just played their style, and G2 just couldn't find the way to be able to work with the conditions they had to win the game.
The true winner came on stage. The Brazilian fan. Yeah, I think just going overall the games or overall thing, I think watching it, I definitely feel like someone who didn't, I reiterated this, but who didn't watch the group stages and hearing that G2 was such an awful team, just seeing these two series, I think G2 looks like pretty good. Like you were talking about how you would put them pretty high. If Worlds was right now, G2 would definitely be like someone who can compete.
Yep, they'd be a top 8 team and someone you look forward to be top 4. And I think that's something where you if you're of a non-Korean region, you could say that confidently. That's something you want to say. Like, wow,
watching Perkz especially and Sven, those are definitely two players who are just fantastic. I think Perkz' laning is insane. He's able to pressure someone like Faker, and Sven, who's overall just like very mechanically skilled.
I think my takeaway from the tournament is I gotta go watch Perkz more.
Yeah. Definitely.
This guy's laning is just unbelievable.
I would want to watch more G2.
Yes.
EU better than NA.
I'm not even going to say anything, dude. EU. G2,
I had to say it.
G2 especially is just looking rock solid. If they could transition this midseason into the season, and they improve on a couple things that they've had like pretty bad problems with, which is like probably like early game focus in terms of like how to break out of the early game correctly, as well as I would like to see either if they're gonna go with the idea that mid lane just stays at like its own 1v1 situation, everyone comes in from time to time, or if they want to help break him out of it and have him work with the jungler more, I would like to see that as well. In either situation, whatever style they want to go for, they have a really good foundation to build upon it. I don't think Perks was this good in lane a year ago. His improvement, just remarkable to see. And going to Worlds, G2 is definitely a team where your eye should be on them.
I would be scared to play G2.
Yeah, they're actually a great team.
What about SKT? What do you think of them? I think SKT looks like they look like SKT. They're a very good team. They aren't afraid to take those shots. If they're gonna have a win condition, they will play to that win condition and beat you.
I think you can't really say too much bad about SKT. The biggest thing you can say, the most consistent thing that happened this tournament was that Faker lost mid against Perks, like consistently, you know. And I think that there's a lot of situations where just like he got ganked when he was a little bit overextending. Like that's just how Faker plays. Like Faker is different than a lot of other mid laners because he tends to run like the most aggressive rune pages and the most aggressive pages possible. He's the type of player who when you can go 30 points into one tree, he would be 30 offense. It wouldn't be like 21-9-0. He would literally run 30 offense in a lot of his games. He never runs MR, and he's the type of guy when people copy him and it's like, wait, how come I get chunked so hard? It's like Faker just mechanically outplays his opponents. But that does become an issue if he plays against someone who's just like as good, if not better than him in lane, which I think he met this tournament. So maybe Faker was in poor laning form. I don't think that should take away from Perks' achievements this time. I still think SKT, best team in the world. Nothing. I don't have anything to say. I think they're very, very good at being able to identify how to win the game. And you know, like it should say something that every single game you play, if SKT is behind 2K gold, you think it's even. If SKT is ahead 2K gold, you think the game's over.
Yeah.
So
SKT Baron, you just turn off the stream, it's over.
Yeah, and so they're the team to beat for sure. I'm not gonna say the gap's closing. I'm just gonna say G2.
The gap's closing.
G2 had a great event. I can't wait to see my Worlds.
Yep. I'm happy for them too because I feel like that team was definitely looked down upon with all the vacation memes and their poor, just fucking shit world like any international performance.
I mean,
this is definitely a tournament that makes people shut up.
Yeah. This is a tournament where it's like, G2 went on vacation. It's like, wait, we got second, dude. We pressured SKT.
We beat them once.
Yeah, it's like the games are close. Like you watch our series, you watch Flash Wolves or KT play SKT. Which one's better?
If it was only game 2, we would have won.
Yeah, I think that G2 could be really proud of what they did this tournament, and I'm happy to see them. For me personally, I'm hoping that hopefully NA can have a revitalization going to Worlds because we didn't do well at all.
Oof.
We placed top 5, but
rough for us.
Top 5,
rough.
It's not great. We'll go with that.
Top 5 team.
Okay. Usually at the end of the stream we do a Q&A, so I think this is a good time to just jump into it. If you guys have any questions to ask, please ask us questions. Please refrain from asking us what if questions. If you're gonna ask what if, for instance, C9 went to MSI,
they would have won.
Not a great question to ask.
Ask me those questions.
Yeah, and usually try to stay away from like roster replacement questions as well because super good questions.
If Perks was on TSM would have been first place. There you go.
But aside from that, feel free to ask us anything, and we'll just pick up questions as we can.
NA top 5 meme. You just made that a meme. NA top 5 at MSI.
Come on.
God, that was actually so rough to watch, though. Just seeing them almost make it.
I mean, honestly, as G2, I'm sure they're really sad about this, but everyone who's like a fan of like,
for sure, they're
sad. Like G2,
COG too. Like seeing the COG do so well at MSI and being part of it, even though we had such a good run, when we lost first place to SKT, obviously, everyone was so fucking sad. Everyone was depressed. Still, great performance.
Wow, there's a lot of questions.
I can't even read it. Jesus, there's so many.
Perks play great, but then you have a lane advantage in all 4 games.
Like as in champion base?
Yeah, I wouldn't say so. I think the Ahri.
I think Ahri Ori is the biggest one you can look at where that was like they picked the Ahri into the Ori.
Yeah, I think in that situation it's like sure he may have a lane advantage, but with a lane advantage he shouldn't be able to get a 25 CS lead. Like if I get a lane advantage from draft phase. I'm converting every lane advantage into a 30 CS lead plus a kill.
You're doing your job.
Yeah,
You're doing your job.
Yeah, like send me to Worlds, man, because I'm the I'm the best mid laner in the world. Straight up, like I think if Perks wanted to make an argument where he says I'm definitively the best mid laner in the world for the laning phase, this tournament, he could make that statement. It'd be hard for me to refute.
I think that's a big thing that people are getting confused too. Like, I feel like Perks could definitely have played a lot better just transitioning his lead into other lanes and helping break towers, and he didn't do that. And that's a big thing that could have maybe like changed the fate of a lot of games. But if we're just focusing solely on laning, like we've said, just laning, yes, Perks was the best at this tournament. Who knows? I don't want someone to fight me and be like, Faker's my guy.
Yeah, I mean, he also got a lot of jungle pressure, but it's not like Faker didn't get a lot of pressure too. Like, come on,
he got
dude.
top lane pressure too,
He
dude.
got like Galio ultis,
Where's
Rumble
my Galio?
ultis. They got Kench ultis. Dude, both mid laners got a lot of pressure, and in lane, I would say definitively Perks played better. That's not a shot against Faker. Still think Faker's the best mid laner in the world.
You think Perks is better than Faker? I'll fuck you up. That's what people... Faker is still the better mid laner, but Perks played well.
Should ᵐᵉᵐᵉ be nerfed from the ground to remove these must bans or red side? I think rather than nerfing them, it's easier to nerf and introduce a shield breaking item. So the way that I see it is that you either introduce an item or ability or from a new champion that breaks shields, or you introduce something like Mortal Reminder or Executioner's Calling that decreases the effectiveness of shields. So one or the other, good idea, because right now the only thing in the game that doesn't have counterplay are two things: knockups and shields. Eventually, knockups probably might need to get looked at some point, but shields is
lame to get knocked up.
Yeah, but shields is like the bigger offender. I don't think there's a problem with shielding champs in general. It's like if you played against ᵐᵉᵐ every game, but you couldn't buy Executioner's Calling. It's like, yeah, she's gonna look impressive.
It's like if you played against ᵐᵉᵐ and your Ignite didn't reduce the healing on it.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that did happen. Good job, Riot.
Yeah, it happened for a little bit, and it's like, wait, please stop doing this. They introduced it back, and so at some point, I'm very positive in the future, Riot's gonna add a shield, a shield item that will break its effectiveness.
I think that's actually the best way to combat it, because I really don't like it when they just nerf things to the ground and then it becomes unplayable.
Yeah.
I like the introduction of new stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which scares me though, because I don't believe that'll come. You think
it's something that needs to be in the game for sure. Like, it's cool to see like Ivern, Twitch, Lulu, like Lulu Ori in the game, and like on top of like a Locket shield and
Locket Redemption.
But it's like, let's be real. Like, if there was a way to reduce that, it would make the game much more balanced, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah, I don't think they'll do it, but I love the idea.
What would I rate NA's chances next internationals? Too far away. Way too far away. You don't. I promise you.
It's like so far.
You guys don't even know the full rosters of teams yet.
Oh yeah, there's roster changes that
haven't been announced yet. There's roster changes that haven't been announced yet. But if you've like looked, you can see that there certain roster changes, but they have not technically been announced. NA's rosters do not look the same as they did last year. Even though everyone's streaming right now.
Spoiler.
There's different rosters for sure.
Ooh.
It'll be in the next week because there's
Scarra leak one for me right now.
No, Dark's on CLG.
Everyone knows that.
I feel about expect in regards to his early lane phase and especially his TPs. Thought he played fine. His gameplay game, he played well. His Galio game, he got baited.
I've never really liked Expect Scalio. I think that's just like, he didn't look as good as when he played other champs. His Rumble looked good, his GP looked good, but his Galio feels okay.
I think his TPs are not proactive enough, but that's something that's very difficult for a top laner to do because it revolves around working around his team. Like, he's not the one that TPs in first and sets up a play for his team for the most part, except for like maybe one game yesterday in the best of series where he did that with the Victor.
Oh yeah,
but aside from that, like, can't think of another one really. But that
was on Rumble too.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult. Like, I don't really have that many problems with it. I think if you're gonna nitpick G2, you could go that direction. I would say rather it's more like a team-based thing than like individual player skill being terrible. Yeah. What does proactive means? It means they're able to make the play. Like, proactive means you do something initially first. Reactive means you react to the opposing play. Some teams are really good at reacting, and a lot of comps require. And the game ideally should be played as a proactive game. You know, you want to promote a game that is there to where if you get rewarded for making plays as opposed to only reacting to opposing plays. And the game is built that way. Like if you're making the initial play, you can decide the terms of engagement. All right, I want to fight at this choke point. At this area. At this time. And they don't get to say anything. They have to just take it.
Yeah. That's proactive.
Trick played the last 2 games that he did at the start of MSIs. Is his consistency an issue? Should he be swapped? No. I thought he played well.
Trick? Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. Last 2 games were definitely like...
Yeah, they're bummers, right? But it should say something about his team that, like, if he does falter, his team doesn't help him out either.
I don't think he played bad necessarily. I just don't think he was proactive with this place. He wasn't looking for like how he should win the game, how his comp was made around him.
Oh, well, definitely. You look at G2 and how good they are right now. Give him another couple months leading up to Worlds, they could be great. You don't want to do lane swaps. I think he played a fan like. The games
last series too, that was a trick series.
Yeah, the games he was on fire, you were just like,
he was 1v. The games he was on fire, he was 1v9.
Yeah, I don't think he's inconsistent, really.
I don't think.
I just think that's a weakness of him. Yeah, inconsistency is what people say when like a player doesn't play well every single game. Yeah, I think that's crazy. Like
every single game or like every other game.
Like for instance, people would be like, "Do you think Faker was inconsistent this game because he got outlaned?" It's like, no, he just played bad. Like he got outplayed this game. He's not inconsistent. In fact, his impact is like straight the definition of consistency. Do you think Rift Herald will have priority in Summer? Yes.
Yes.
That thing.
New Rift Herald is actually can kill your towers instantly if you leave it unchecked.
It's guaranteed 1 tower if no one touches it. In 2 it's because you're lucky it kills itself when it charges.
I didn't know it did until I realized.
Yeah. It didn't. It does the exact same damage it does to the tower to itself, and which is like based on its current health. And so the charge is less and less damage over as the thing progresses. I think I've seen some creative uses for it already. For instance, if you can use it to spawn in the jungle, and as the time it takes for it to run around into the lane, you're making a play mid lane.
Oh yeah.
So you can use it like a splish. You're looking to pressure Baron.
Mid's about to fight, and you just throw down the Rift Herald and a run.
Yeah. It's not Baron because when Baron spawns, it's gone. But you just look to put it somewhere really far away from everything and just go make a fight somewhere else. I think there's a lot of really, really cool things you can do with Rift Herald. I like that it's in the game. I actually think it's
a nice
cool.
way to deal with like I think a lot of wave clear champs that feel very hard to deal with. Rift Herald became one of those ways to just kill towers.
You can just brute force mid lane. Legit, I've seen 5v5s where it's like
5k traps Victor Laser, just spawn the Rift Herald and he'll smash his head into it.
Yeah, and then they have to fight around Rift Herald, which automatically absorbs like tower aggro. It's really interesting. I like that it's in the game. It should promote more plays, even if it's maybe a little bit overtuned right now.
I think it's way better than the Rift Herald before too, because last Rift Herald really felt like before it was when it first came out, it felt like whatever top laner got it, top laner just fucked for the enemy top laner, and then it became useless. No one ever got it.
Big problem is it's a lot of invisible power. It's a similar thing to what was the old Bond and Stone. Hey dude, I'm gonna make you take 3% less damage. What's that actually mean though? I don't know what that means. It's the same thing where it's like now on the items when you absorb damage, it shows you your biggest shield. So that you can look at it and be like, wow, dude, I shield 600 this time. I'm so good. Whereas like Bond and Stone, it's like, I absorbed 3 damage from that 50 damage. Oh, yes. So it gave a lot of invisible power, which I think is like not great visually as a spectator. Whereas the new Rift Herald, holy, you could see it.
You spawn it makes a huge noise.
And then it would and when it like crashes the tower, you're just like, oh, shit.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, like that's cool. Like as a spectator, it's definitely something you should be looking forward to because it will just promote cool stuff happening. Who's the best mid laner to learn from? I personally like learning from Apto. I think he's a lot more cerebral about the game, and so what he teaches can be taught regardless of your mechanical skill. Because if he's like, okay, well, this guy just played bad because he like positioned here, all that stuff. I learned how to play a lot of my matchups from watching Apto VODs back in Season 3. And if I was seriously looking to go pro right now, I would study his stream and his VODs over Faker's for the most part. Maybe I should study Perks' VODs, actually, to be honest.
For me, it's you, man. I learned from you. You're the best mid laner ever.
Where are you right now on the ladder?
I don't know, like fucking Master 0 P.
That's what happens.
Yeah. You're the best, man. I love watching twitch.tv/Scarra. Subscribe today.
Do you think that PerkZ vs Faker is similar to Jensen vs Bjerg?
Jensen vs Bjerg? PerkZ vs Faker?
I think even though Faker, like, no, just because Faker's a more complete player than Bjergsen. We consider Bjergsen the most complete mid laner in A, but I think that makes Faker look like a worse player if you're comparing that. Like, I can understand seeing the transition from Jensen to PerkZ, because I think strictly that's just like a straight transition where PerkZ is just like a better laner, and they play very similar play styles. But when you're going from Bjergsen to Faker, it's like insulting because
insulting.
I feel like the way Faker plays the game in terms of impact, sometimes you're just like,
come on, my boy
Jesus.
Bjergsen.
Dude, this is coming from the guy who thinks Bjergsen's like by far the best mid laner in North America. I just think Faker is just, his level of impact in the game is nuts. If he's 0-4, he's able to consistently put out the same level of impact as most players when they're 0-0. That should say something about his relative skill at the game.
All right. Yeah, that's what I was going for too. I see where they're trying to make the comparison, but
yeah, I see the comparison, but I think it's a lot more easy for me to say PerkZ to Jensen than it is for me to say Bjergsen to Faker.
Yeah, I agree.
Why was Graves not banned or pick priority of series? I think a lot of times when you go into international events and tournaments in general, there's many metas that form. Because usually through scrims or whatever, they find out that like one champion, while it is good, another champion serves its purpose a lot better. And so maybe they found out that like because they're banning all these shield supports, they need the more tanky frontline from the jungle position, because they're also potentially picking Rumble and Gangplank, and so that's where Olaf came in, right?
Kench too. I feel like he definitely got a lot of priority.
Yeah, he got a lot of priority because people started banning these shield supports that weren't consistently banned at the very start of the tournament, and so because of that, like the meta shifts and changes a lot in these high international events, and so this is just like a great example of that happening.
That's a good question, actually. That's something that I don't think people talk about. These champions that always just become so high priority out of nowhere. It's like no one plays a champ. All of a sudden, he's being fought over, picked and banned all the time. Yeah. I feel like it's usually Corki. At Worlds, didn't you always feel like Corki's like one of the best champs?
Corki's one of the. It's always a Corki and Ori. I think Ori was just
Ori.
Ori stands the test of time. She's always going to be a good champion. There was a situation where she wasn't that good in the meta where Victor Azir was played every game, and then she still got back in Worlds as the third mid lane pick, and you're just like, how'd you make it back here, dude? Come on. Okay, I mean, I'm good, man. Like,
yeah, that was a good amount of questions. I'm good.
All right, so thank you guys for tuning into this show. I understand some of you may be missing MarkZ, and I mean, I am too.
I don't,
to be honest. And so when it's happening, is,
not at all.
For people who don't know, he went to his brother's priest ordination today or this weekend, and so he couldn't make it. We'll be back for a normal season of LCS again. We'll probably have to rebrand as well, because even though PLT is really funny, I think that it's bad of us to have directly stolen like Riot Games' thing, and so we'll rebrand to something that's just as cool but better.
Just as
so we'll let you guys know when that happens. PLT will probably resume when NA LCS starts. I don't really see ourselves doing another show. There might be a special episode.
Is there another event that might happen? Maybe there's a special episode to introduce the new name or something.
Yeah, there might be something, but for the most part, I would say expect PLT to be back on during the regular split. It's something that...
It's pretty soon.
Yeah, it's like in 2 weeks. But I expect us to resume for the next split at the very least. Afterwards, I guess me and Mark will talk about the future, and Josh will talk about the future of the show. If you guys missed today's episode, make sure to check our Twitter at #PostLeagueTime to be able to find out the YouTube that it's on. We'll post all our VODs on our new YouTube channel, which I can't link because there's no custom URL. But it'll be on our Twitter. Anyways, thank you guys for watching.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Remember to follow #PostLeagueTime on all your social medias forever. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
And where can they find you, dude?
And to find me, follow my best social media. Just follow my Twitter. It's the only good one.
What's your Twitter?
BasedYuna. That's also my Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
_Yuna.
Is it? Yes. No, not on Twitter.
Oh, is it not?
Nope.
I don't even know.
But follow me too.
All right, I'm Scarra. You can follow me. You're on my Twitch channel right now. Probably end up streaming later tonight. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Goodbye. Oh, wait, we don't have an end screen.
We don't have a production guy to stop the stream. You gotta do it.
Goodbye.